Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your man, Paul by Shay Williams, licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist. I want y'all to get into this journal. Get this for another black man. Get this if you're a black man yourself. If you have a brother, an uncle, a cousin, a coworker, a friend, a son, get this for them. The goal of this is to really identify different things in you that drive how you act, how you think, and how you operate, right? I think sometimes we have a lot of blind spots. We have some experiences that we've had growing up that kind of lead to us doing uh, not so healthy things, right? And also impacting our thought process and our thought process of ourselves in the world we live in. This is a black man's guide to self discovery. And I originally used to have a different journal. It wasn't mine. I got it off of Amazon. I thought it was a great tool, and I used to give it to clients. But what I found out, it was missing um, the black man's experience, right? I think a lot of different things are meant good, right? They are helpful, but if we don't have something that's specific to our experience, we sometimes miss marks that we need to get, right? And we sometimes feel excluded, right? We feel like some of the things don't really touch or don't really resonate. Now, I use some of these questions with clients, but because I'm, again, a therapist who doesn't really share clients' information, I'm going to do it myself, right? So, one of the questions, number 9, it says, how has sex and money influenced your identity? Now, I'm not going to get into the money part, but I do want to talk about the sex part. So, early, I think I was going into the 8th grade. Um, didn't even hit puberty yet. It was, I lived in the hood, so it was like hood day. We're at a local theme park, was Kings Dominion, and I met this girl there. And then one of my good friends, he was a little bit older than me, met another girl there. They were cousins, and we exchanged numbers. Right, this is, I guess, my first girlfriend. So fast forward 2 days later, next thing I know, we're going over to the house, and I had no intentions of doing anything but really getting to know this person, right? And I didn't know about relationships back then, so I didn't know what I was doing. But again, my friend was older, at least 2 or 3 years older. The woman or the girl that I met, she was at least 2 or 3 years older, and so the environment was more mature than me. So I get there, and the girl is in the shower. So immediately I start to feel uncomfortable. Like, I'm kind of new to this, I'm kind of green. And again, I wasn't expecting to do anything. But what happened was she was getting out the shower and they told me to go back to her room. And I was like, I have to wait until you get dressed. And everybody was like laughing at me. It was like, no, go in the back. So I was like, all right. So I go in the back and I'm uncomfortable. She's like adjusting a towel, trying to show me different things. And I'm just like, I need to get out of here. So I immediately get up, go out into the living room. I knock on the door where my friend is. And I was like, yo, we got to go. He was like, man, go on back there, man. I'm trying to do something with this girl. So, against my better judgment, or I guess peer pressure or whatever it was, I went back and it went down. Had no idea what I was doing, right? I was just following directions. So eventually it ended. We were leaving, and my friend said to me, that was your first time? And being a little kid, I said, nah, man, that wasn't my first time. But on the inside, I felt like everything that I had was lost. I just gave away something um, for the first time, and it just didn't feel good. So eventually, I go home. I go straight to my room. I don't say anything to anybody. I go straight to my room. And I think I cried that day because I felt like something was taken from me. And then maybe the next day, the girl was calling. She called me for a couple of days. I wasn't picking up the phone. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to talk to her. I felt violated. I felt like I lost something, even though I gave it away, right? Um, I remember she came knocking at my door. And I remember my mother was sitting on the lawn, and I was upstairs in my room looking out the window trying to hide so she doesn't see me. And I remember my mother saying, you shouldn't come after chasing after a boy. Like, you're too pretty for that. You shouldn't be doing that, right? And I felt like my mother saved the day. Um, so this girl is now rejected, right? We just had sex. It wasn't her first time, it was my first time. And now she's rejected. So now I've wounded her in the process of being wounded. I'm still, again, pre puberty, going into the eighth grade. I think it was like 12 or something like that. But I really wasn't ready for that. So for years, I stayed away from girls. I just wasn't into them. I didn't want to have that experience again. And if I did date, it was maybe like 2 or 3 years later in high school, maybe 10th grade or 11th grade. I made sure whoever I dated was a virgin because I didn't want to have sex, right? So a virgin is safe because a virgin isn't into sex, isn't having sex, so they're safe to me. And I purposely chose a virgin again to date for years. So that impacted me. But another thing that impacted me was when I got cheated on in college. Oh, that set me for the ringer, right? And once that happened, I had to prove that it wasn't my fault that I got cheated on. So anytime I had the opportunity to have sex with another woman, I took that opportunity and I made sure to I was trying to outperform the wound that I experienced, right? I wanted people to know because I was still in the same environment. It was in college. I wanted people to know that it wasn't my fault, that I'm not bad in bed, that I'm good in bed. I wanted people to have a different opinion about me than I assumed that they had. So for years, again, I was walking around with this little wounded boy. You got the one that was going into the eighth grade dealing with that, and then you got the one that's cheated on. And now all of a sudden, you turn into this, well, I turned into this person who, I need my ego stroked. Anytime that little boy says, you know what, you got cheated on because you're bad in bed, here comes another woman. You have to prove that you're not bad in bed. And that happened for a long time until I sat down with myself and I said, I didn't need the external validation. I'm good enough. What happened to me was not my fault. I'm not responsible for someone harming me or cheating on me. But I dealt with that for a long time. And I know there's a lot of men out here who are still suffering from their first experience through sex where they were violated, something was taken from them, or even people saying to you that this is what you're supposed to do, right? I think we give the wrong information to our black boys and our black men still to this day, right? You go online, you see that. But something interesting, I want to go back a little bit to the eighth grade little boy. When I eventually, years later, I asked my mother, I was like, did you know it was my first time? She said yes. And she said that it wasn't my responsibility or my job to make sure that you didn't have sex. From my upbringing and understanding, through my brothers, her brothers and everything, boys had sex. She said it was supposed to be up to your father to talk to you about that. And while that's true, there was still a missed opportunity for me to hear what I needed to hear, right? That it's okay, right? And what happened to you wasn't right. And the other thing is hearing that from my mother, because she said that it was my father's job, and she said she was expecting boys to have sex. She said also her job was to protect my sister from getting pregnant. So now you have me, the eighth grade, 12-year-old, who had this experience and feels unprotected. And then you have, again, the young boy in college who also feels violated. So I was dealing with those two things for a very long time, again, until I addressed it properly. But again, go get this journal, but I want us black men just to have a better experience in life. So if you feel like you're not ready for therapy, start there, right? Get this journal. Again, it has a bunch of questions. There's 120 questions. It's like, how do you feel about yourself when you accomplish something or when you don't accomplish something? Who has disappointed you the most? It talks about your relationship with your parents, your relationship with your friends, your relationship with yourself. But I'm going to get into more questions. I'm going to get into more questions soon. But hopefully that helps. But again, go get the journal. It's on my website, at BasheWilliams.com. It's on Amazon. You buy it from me, you get a signed copy. So I would suggest that you get it from me. But I hope that helps. Y'all be easy.